Hello again, Guardians. It's Cortanium, and today we're taking a look at all the new solar buffs Bungie is making in Season 2, which is the next season of Bungie's little season pass thing they're having. And so as you can see in the background here, they've actually put Void and Arc buffs on literally on a lot of things in the artifact. And so this is what they're going to do next season. They're reworking a bunch of the supers of solar subclasses, and they're going to put some solar stuff probably on their next artifact that they have. And so they are adjusting the Dawnblade super, the Sunbreaker super, and the Golden Gun super for hunters. And so you guys, I'm going to tell you guys actually exactly what changes they are making. I'm just listing this right off their website. I'll have the description if you guys want to read along with me. Now for Way of the Sharpshooter. This is bottom tree hunter, if you're wondering. For 3-shot, we increase the auto aim distance and reliability when aiming down sights, as it fulfills a role of long range accuracy. For 6 shots, we shorten the damage fall off range to emphasize the short range gunfighter role with a lot of kill potential. While it can still perform at a longer range, it may take an extra shot to get the job done. We've also made other changes to Way of the Outlaw to help keep its potency, like adding a new explosive proximity knife that can stick to surfaces and detonate when enemies are near. And so Guardians, they have made the 6-shot Golden Gun very short distance and the 3-shot even farther. All up, we wanted the Way of the Sharpshooter to feel more active and rewarding for players who can fulfill the role of the sharpshooter by taking down enemies with accuracy and precision. So there is a new thing called a weighted knife. High damage knives thrown with a long windup. It travels at high speeds, bounces once, and does extra damage to the head. Precision shot final blows recharge the melee one-hit precision final blow in PvP. And so this is similar to throwing knives in Destiny 1. If you guys remember, we had throwing knives in Destiny 1 that just one-shot everyone to the head, except this one's a little bit different. This one we can bounce off of walls, and I'm sure that's going to make for a bunch of cool trick shots where you just see a knife bounce off of a wall and kill you somehow. I'm not sure how it's going to work, but it's going to be cool, Guardians. Practice makes perfect. It lasts longer but gives a little less time for energy per second. Precision hits grant 2 stacks of this practice makes perfect, like a headshot modifier for Golden Gun. And a new perk they're adding is called Knock Him Down. Precision final blows increase weapon stability and aim down sight speed. Timer starts at 10 seconds, but any additional final blow or assist can increase it up to 25 seconds. Casting your super with this buff above 20 seconds consumes the buff and grants extra damage. But this stuff does not stack with Celestial Nighthawk, unfortunately. But I mean, the reason they're changing the whole bottom tree of the Hunter Super in the first place is because it's not used enough. It's always been paired with Celestial Nighthawk as far as anyone can remember, and people would rather use 6 shots in Crucible, and so they're just trying to make it viable again. They're readjusting an old perk called Line 'em Up. Old perks from Crowd Pleaser are now a part of this perk. Golden Gun can cause precision damage, and precision shots generate orbs of light. And so this is a very old perk. You guys have always made precision damage and precision shots that are generating orbs of light with this Golden Gun perk, but we've never ever had the Crowd Pleaser as part of this perk. And so you guys will have all the effects of Crowd Pleaser on this new Golden Gun, or this Golden Gun readjustment at least. And that was all the adjustments for the Hunter class of the Golden Gun bottom tree. But you guys, we still have more. We still have the 2 other subclasses from Hunter and Warlock to actually deal with. And so the next subclass I want to talk about that they're making adjustments to is, I believe, the Titan subclass. Now the Titan subclass, they're the Sunbreaker, they're actually making changes to the one with the hammer that goes around, the one they just added in. The Roaring Flame perk has received a significant buff to its bonus damage, and the ability now lasts 25% longer, making it easier to build and retain stacks between encounters. The base damage of Throwing Hammer melee ability has increased. It's now very lethal in PvP while you have Roaring Flames active. In addition, once you've thrown the hammer and it's lying on the ground, you don't have to get quite as close to pick it back up. Finally, we've tuned the super in a number of ways, and so the big things to take away from this, Guardians, is that they increase the range and the damage of that throwing hammer that you guys have in your little, it's kind of like the throwing knife but for Titans, and so you guys can have a lot of that. That's very awesome for you guys to have. For starters, Burning Maul now lasts longer, giving you time to use it strategically instead of simply spamming the slam button. Titans, all we want to do is smash, right? We've also increased the height of the heavy slam explosion, so this super should feel much more potent against airborne enemies. That's the gist of it, but here are the details. And so before I move on, Guardians, you can see that Burning Maul is now just going to last longer, and I don't think this is going to have the effect Bungie wants it to have, honestly, because just making a super last longer is just going to make it more toxic than before. Heck, if every golden gun lasted 30 seconds instead of 10 or 20 seconds, you could just see how toxic these super abilities would be. Making Burning Maul last longer is not going to solve any kind of problem by using it strategically. It's just going to make people slam it more and kill more people with it and just use it. Now, the throwing hammer of the Burning Maul has increased impact damage from 100 to 120, so these are the exact numbers, and increased hammer pickup radius from 2 meters to 3.5 meters. They adjusted the hammer throw animations to fit a more damaging attack. In Roaring Flames, increased damage bonus from 10% per stack to 25% per stack in PvP, and increased duration from 15 seconds to 20 seconds. So you guys, you're just getting more time for everything, and you're getting more damage. And so these are just some serious buffs coming along. They're trying to get more people to use these somewhat useless subclasses. Now, Burning Maul, you guys have an increased duration from 21 seconds to about 28 seconds. Now, the light attack of Burning Maul, they reduced the light attack energy from 5% to 3%, and they adjusted the animation so that it flows seamlessly into chained light attacks without stopping. Now, the heavy attack of the Burning Maul, the ground slam attack now detonates when it detects enemies above it. Detonation radius was increased to make landing attacks more consistent. Increased energy cost from 6% to 8%. And so this is kind of interesting that the super is kind of acting for you here, Guardian. It's going to automatically detonate a ground slam if anyone's above you and you're in the super. Now, before we get started, I want to touch on one thing. To accomplish our goals of reworking the air superiority role, and this is for the readjustment of the Dawnblade subclass, we needed to differentiate the two Dawnblade paths from one another. As such, they actually they reduce the speed at which the burst glide accelerates players in Daybreak. We know this is a controversial change, but we wanted to reinforce the air superiority and the attunement of the sky. They wanted to differentiate these two perks between the two Warlock subclasses, and so the Warlock doesn't feel the same all the way around. They're trying to make one kind of less bursty and one more. Now, Icarus Dashes, while in Daybreak, have increased speed and thrust to recapture the burst glide and gameplay for those running the air superiority path. We hope that while this change is different, you still feel as fast as before, but with maybe a bit more expression behind that speed. The rest of the changes are below. And so Bungie's just trying to, nerf one place and buff another to try to make you feel better, but you're still being nerfed, Guardian. That's the thing. Your abilities are still being nerfed. You will not be able to burst as far with that air superiority path, and so that people are going to feel that. I don't know if you guys will be able to skate as far anymore with Dawnblade anymore. We could feel that change right away, Guardians. Now, the new Celestial Fire melee, it sends a spiral of 3 explosive solar projectiles down on a person, and so this is actually kind of cool. This is the new melee ability for Warlocks. You guys will send 3 explosive solar projectiles. It seems to me like the Blade Barrage knives, honestly, the triple knife. Heat rises. Consume your grenade to extend glide time and dramatically reduce the in-air accuracy penalties for weapons. And so you guys, this is just the aiming and air Warlock thing. And Wing Sun rework. Fire weapons use celestial fire and throw grenades while gliding. Your airborne final blows grant melee energy and extend the duration of heat rises. And you guys, honestly, as Warlocks, probably are not going to get a lot of airborne final blows. And so I do not see this Wing Sunned perk or this Wing Sunned rework actually doing any significant upgrade to Warlocks at all. I'm sorry, Guardians. It's just, think about how many times you're actually in the air meleeing people. It seems like melee is more of a ground thing that you're doing on the ground. If you are meleeing people in the air, well, you do you, Guardian. You use this perk to its full advantage. But let's go on. Icarus Dash is also being reworked. You tap your crouch button in midair twice to actually dodge in midair. It dodges in Daybreak, accelerates players farther, and costs less super energy while under the effects of heat rises. Now, added note, due to the nature of these reworks, Wings of Sacred Dawn received a buff where it gains 15% damage resistance while Tome of Dawn is active. And so you guys, if you have this Tome of Dawn perk active while you are inside your Sacred Dawn super, well, you guys are going to get some more damage resistance. And so that's awesome. This is buffs all the way around, it seems. Seems like the only person actually receiving kind of a nerf is the Warlocks. But, I mean, Warlocks are overpowered as it is, so this might be guaranteed. There are a whole swath of changes we're working on to extend beyond these 3 subclasses. Most solar subclasses had some tombing, and some non-solar subclasses got a bit of QOL love too. We hope that with these changes, you'll feel energized, playing any solar subclass regardless of activity. Thanks for having us. And so that's the end of this solar buff update. I hope you guys can see how everything is actually buffing. Sunbreaker to Dawnblade to Golden Gun. Bungie is trying to buff as much as they can, but it seems with some of the buffs they're actually having to pull off in the opposite direction and nerf the other side of the spectrum so that people will just have to use whatever subclass that Bungie wants them to use. And so I don't really consider this an upgrade, but I mean, as far as all the buffs go, they're all pretty positive as we can see. But the nerf, I just hate the fact that they went off in the other direction and decided to nerf a vital subclass that everyone liked. Everyone liked how the amount of distance you could get on a burst on these Dawnblades. I'm not sure how the community is going to receive this. Obviously, it is controversial, like they said, but as long as they don't go off and nerf the opposite direction of any other subclasses, I think the Bungie community will be fine. I think we'll all like the fact that we're getting buffs to all these supers, just hopefully not to the extent that they're all overpowered and everyone's rolling solar supers and Crucible, because this is honestly going to be super toxic if everyone is just rolling like Blade Barrage or Golden Gun. Hopefully they can keep these solar buffs under wraps, or else, I mean, we're going to have just solar season for all of next season. Anyway, Guardians, that was all of the solar buffs Bungie is putting into the game. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, Guardians, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.